There's no doubting the popularity of Palworld. Honestly, I didn't hear about this game until well after it was already out. I mean, how could I not? After hearing so many people saying that there is a game where Pokemon have guns, I figured I'd take a look at it for myself. And after looking at the trailer, I knew that it wasn't my kind of game, but I could definitely see the appeal. With a big open world, lots to explore, many different creatures, or pals as they call them, and just the overall look of the game proved to me that this would definitely be a game I'd have to keep my eye on. Speaking of the creatures, which go by pals in this game, I gotta say, I really love their design. I mean, look at this little guy. He's all small and yellow and full of electricity. Oh, never mind, that already exists in a different game. But what about this guy? He's all big and round and looks like he could just roll all over the place. Are you sure this game isn't just Pokemon? As more and more people began to play Palworld, many were quick to label this game as a blatant ripoff of Pokémon. In fact, it's gone so far that many are wondering if Nintendo is thinking about suing the company behind Palworld. But before we get into that, let's take a look at the game itself and see just how close it is to Pokemon games. Like I mentioned before, this game is open world, and yes, while Pokemon has had open world games in the past, this game cranks it up a notch and is way more than that. In fact, it's more similar to Zelda or Ark just with the amount of stuff there is to do in these worlds. Players are thrown into vast worlds with many different terrains and things to do, and are encouraged to explore the world at their own pace. Different pals that you collect on your journey can also help you explore this world, but for the most part, you just explore the world on your own. On your journey, you'll come across these pals. Now, to catch a Pokemon in the Pokemon games, you typically weaken them through another Pokemon's ability and throw a Pokeball at it to capture it. Fairly simple, not too difficult, anyone can do it. And in Palworld, it's fairly similar, only instead of using Thunderbolt or throwing a Fireball at it, you use something that would end a Pokemon battle much quicker. A gun. And just in case you were missing out on all the fun in these Pokemon battles, in Palworld, you're able to join the battle with your own gun! This is one element of the game that many quickly turn to when saying that this game is a ripoff of Pokemon. When it comes to this point, I'm not sure how strong of an argument that actually is. There are other games out there where you have to tame an animal and can capture it in a battle-like system. Pokemon didn't invent this. No, instead, the real debate over Palworld being a twist on a Pokemon game involves how the pals themselves look. In some cases, comparing the creatures in Palworld and Pokemon, they don't look too similar. These are more of the if I squint I can kind of see it category, but some of these creatures are a bit too close. A Twitter user by the name of Cecilia Faye, and no, I'm not calling it X, went through each and every creature in Palworld and compared them to the Pokemon in Pokemon games. Scrolling through this list, even if the artists themselves didn't trace over them or directly copy them from Pokemon, there's no denying that some of these creatures definitely had an influence. I mean, not all of them. Some I get. Pokemon doesn't have the right to only use sheep, so designs like these I get. But others, I don't know. Now this part I want to make really clear. The company behind Palworld has not directly come out to say whether or not they used Pokemon as a reference when creating these pals. In fact, the CEO of the company made a statement recently, explaining how they wish the conversation around this to stop. I am in no means saying that anyone should attack these artists. Looking at the designs themselves, it's clear that the artists still have talent. Instead, what caught my attention about this statement was that the CEO never mentioned or denied these allegations. While they did mention that they approved the designs of the creatures along with the team, the statement did very little to clear the air around this drama. I have to say, unfortunately, when looking at these designs side by side, it's clear that some of these designs were either inspired or taken directly from already existing Pokemon. When it comes to Nintendo themselves attacking the company behind Palworld in a future lawsuit, they do have some ground to stand on, but it would enter a whole world of legal trouble that I know very little about. But I can say that Nintendo would have to go into this battle carefully. Like I mentioned before, Palworld is already a very popular game, and it's still in early access. If Nintendo was able to cancel the game, I could imagine many fans, both in Palworld and the Nintendo community, getting very upset over this. There's also the discussion to be had about the fanbase themselves. Even before Palworld, the idea of a Pokémon using a gun has been thought of before. If Palworld shuts down due to Nintendo standing in, there's either going to be a new game that comes out in a similar fashion, or, and more likely, a mod put into an already existing Pokémon game. Regardless, Pikachu will own a gun. Hey, Future Jared here. Just got some news while I was recording this video. A new mod came out recently with Pikachu owning a gun in an already existing Pokemon game. And wouldn't you know it, Nintendo's already shut that down? Now it's time to answer the big question. Is Palworld just a ripoff of Pokemon as a whole? And to that I have to say no. When it comes to Palworld and Pokemon being similar beyond just the way that the creatures look and the system of catching them, there isn't much else. In Palworld, you're able to fight alongside your pals. You can build different shelters and team up with people online. If anything, the game's overall structure reminds me more of Ark than Pokemon. In both, you're exploring a large world with different creatures that you can tame, and you can build shelters and team up with people online. Palworld also has a much darker feel about it when compared to a typical Pokemon game. I know, it doesn't look it at first, but looking at their Steam page, it's clear that this isn't trying to mimic Pokemon too much. Wanna build a pyramid? Put an army of pals on the job. Don't worry, there are no labor laws for pals. Letting pals do the work is the key to automation. Building a factory, place a pallet, and they'll keep working as long as they're fed. Until they're dead, that is. Endangered pals live in wildlife sanctuaries, sneak in and capture rare pals to get rich quick. It's not a crime if you don't get caught after all. So along with having a gun and giving an animal one as well, Palworld also includes poaching and slavery. Overall, while it is clear that Palworld has some inspiration from Pokemon, to say it's a one-for-one ripoff isn't looking at it fully. We've already seen some games who struggle to stand out from the gimmick that they have in them. But it seems as though Palworld has been able to avoid this, at least to an extent. I do see many people still calling this game Pokemon with guns, but those who actually played the game seem to really enjoy it for what it is. I don't see Palworlds going anywhere in the future, though I guess only time will tell if Nintendo bites the bullet and decides to take action against this game. Of course, that's just how I view it, but what about you? Do you think Nintendo will take action against Palworld in the future? Let me know in the comments. Anyway guys, thank you for watching this video, and remember to chase the chaos.